Welcome to Khetz Tutorials, and in this video, we'll be doing question 6 from 1.2 exercises in James Stewart calculus. So we asked to find the domain of this function. So the domain would be the x values which make sure that this function exists, essentially. So if any of the x values leads to division by 0, or any of these functions in the overall function to be undefined, then that should not be part of the domain. For example, we can't have the bottom part as 0 because if it evaluates to 0, then we have 1 over 0, which is division by 0, and we don't want that. So first of all, 1 minus 10x should not equal 0. That's the first restriction that we're going to impose. And 10 should not be undefined. So if 10 is undefined, then the whole thing will be undefined. So let's ensure that we have those. So firstly, this would look like this. So 10x would not be equal to 1. And you're going to find your reference angle. So you're going to find the point where your 10, and you can use the cost diagram or the general solution approach to look at. First, let's find the reference angle. So the reference angle would just be the arc of 10 for that one that you have on that side. So that's what you're going to use to find the reference angle. That'll be 45 degrees, or in radians, that'll be pi over 4. So reference angle is pi over 4, and our x should not be pi over 4, and the 1 here is positive, so we're going to look at the places where tan is positive. That'll be there and there. That is 0 plus as well as pi plus. Now that we have this, we can focus on finding the general solution where this would not be defined. So x not equal to pi over, so firstly, we're going to use these regions. So that is the reference angle. Then you're going to use these regions to define where this would be undefined. So it should not be equal to 0 plus pi over 4. And then pi n, where n is an integer. Remember, the period of 10 is pi, or 180. So x should not be pi over 4 and any angle which is 180 removed from it. Also, x should not be pi plus pi over 4 plus pi n, where n is an integer. So if you add these, this would be 5 pi over 4 where n is an integer. So this ensures that this bottom part here is not 0. So that's what we were trying to guard against. Right? So that's the first part. Then the second part is we don't want 10 to be undefined. So 10 is undefined at its asymptotes. And if you remember, the asymptotes would be at pi over 2 essentially. So it'll be at 90 or negative 19. And it should be enough to just say that this would be another place where you don't want your x to be. So this should be sufficient. You know that you have an asymptote there, and if you substitute any n over there, then it should make 10 undefined, and we don't want that. So let's summarize what we just did. We don't want 10 to be undefined, and we don't want division by 0. So x can be anything in the world as long as x is not any of these. So the domain would be x can be anything in the world, but it should not be any of these. That is how you'd give your answer.